Good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progress in Action. I want to talk to you all about something that happened to me back in 2016. 2016, I had never, ever, ever fought so hard for a candidate in my entire life. I fought for Bernie Sanders day in, day out, from 2015 throughout 2016, all the way through up until the general, even when he was no longer in the race. We had supported Jill Stein because we were trying to get them 5% over there. We were doing anything we could to try and advance the progressive message. But I remember the night that Bernie conceded back in 2016, and it was crushing. I sat there on camera sobbing my eyes out, and many people had a good laugh at my expense, but that's okay. Many of us put everything we had into that race. But it was in that moment where Bernie did what many of us couldn't understand. He tried to live to fight for another day. And many people went their own separate ways and they stopped fighting for this movement. They started getting absorbed into other issues and they lost their focus. They lost their focus. And I remember what it was like to power through doubt, to power through feelings of inadequacy and fear, to power through what it felt like to see the oligarchs and the powers that be once again winning against the people. It was devastating, devastating. But I learned something through this process. Bernie Sanders, from day one, going way back to the beginning, he has been a not me, us candidate from Jump Street. Everything he has done has been about empowering people. He's never sought for you to worship him. He's never sought for you to think of him as your God. He has always thought we, the people, not me, us, needed to rise up and take direct action, to be engaged, to be involved, to own this as our own struggle. Even in this campaign, he had thousands of volunteers record a message, a video message, as to why they supported, what this campaign meant to them. Folks, this is an extremely personal revolution. This is not just a Bernie Sanders revolution. And that is what is so difficult for people to understand, both on the left and the right, and the so-called center, which is really the right. They don't understand that we are fighting for our lives, that we are fighting for more than just a party. We're not here rooting for a sports team, wanting our team to win the Super Bowl. We want to live. We want to survive. So this campaign has always been about much more than Bernie Sanders. For those of us who have really dug into it, you feel everything. You felt the winds. You felt when Buttigieg lost Buttigieg, whatever the hell the guy's name is. He's no longer around. Mayo Pete is history, right? We felt the sting of way Iowa went. We knew that they had put their thumb on the scale yet again. And then when New Hampshire suddenly got closer than we thought it should be, we felt the sting, but we celebrated the victory. And then when we watched what happened in Vegas, we all celebrated with all of our hearts. Here was this guy that crushed the entire field. And we thought for sure Super Tuesday was going to be a walk through the park. We thought for sure we were going to run the table. Even Nate Silver, of all people, had given us the blessing that it was going to happen. We knew the polls showed it, everything showed it. But what the establishment did was they had a plan. They consolidated their base. Obama came out of the woodworks trying to put an early dagger in Bernie Sanders. The good news here is that all Bernie Sanders lost on Tuesday was the Confederacy. States that Donald Trump is going to win with the greatest of ease. And if the gaffe machine, Joe Biden, were actually selected, he's going to win more than that. So Bernie Sanders won California. I want you to understand this. He crushed California. Bernie Sanders is only a handful of delegates behind Joe Biden at the moment because the unpledged California delegates haven't been done yet. And Bernie Sanders could quite easily not only be neck and neck, but maybe even surpass Biden with this alone. We may not have to wait till the next primary for Bernie Sanders to pass Joe Biden. I want you to think about this. Now, the super delegates, you're going to tell me, oh, I'm well aware of that. And it's very hard to explain to people that Bernie Sanders may very well get robbed by the superdelegates. He may very well get robbed by the Democratic establishment, which is not just him getting robbed, it's we getting robbed. It's us getting robbed. But far too often, we are like Will Ferrell in the movie Old School, running through the quad streaking and looking over our shoulder and realizing no one's behind us because people quit 5 minutes before the miracle. They jump ship. They go in different directions. They lose heart. And folks, last night, I was devastated. I needed a break. I needed to take a moment to gather my thoughts because I knew that when I go in front of the camera, if I sit there and I pout about how unfair it is, if I pout about how bad it is, if I sit there and cave in, I'll be guilty of making someone else lose heart. And I don't want to be that guy because too much is at stake. Because it's not about Bernie Sanders. It never has been. He has just been the tip of the spear. We are the remainder of the iceberg. We are the remainder of that pure iceberg, that pure blue, clear iceberg that is fighting for all the right reasons. That didn't change with Tuesday. None of that changed. Did you really think that the power elite were going to just give up? They're sitting there planning. Unlike many on the left, they consolidated their efforts. And they said, we're not going to let you just walk away with this nomination, Bernie. We're going to do whatever we can to thwart this because the deep state people that work all throughout our government don't want to lose their positions of power. And they know a Bernie Sanders presidency would kick those bastards out of government. They'd kick them out of the dark recesses of our nation's bowels and shit them right out into the sewer with the rest of the fatberg that's made up of the neoliberal establishment. I want you to understand. They're afraid. Obama came out. You know, Obama coming out right before Super Tuesday, let me tell you what that did to me. When I was 18 or 19 years old, and I was finally getting my fix on, trying to be a man, had my first dates and whatever, ended my virginity. I mean, there's songs called The 1 Minute Man, Missy Elliott, right? I didn't know what I was doing. Hell, I still probably don't know what I'm doing 9 kids later. But you know what I'm saying. The point is, I didn't know what I was doing. Obama and the gang coming out this early to do this shows sheer desperation. They thought they're going to close the deal, slam it home right away to end any thoughts. There's a few people out there that caved in. I see it all over the place. Oh, it's all impossible now. Oh, no, we can't win. Oh, I quit politics. Oh, my God. My inbox from people who are ready to leave you at the altar 5 minutes into it. It's pathetic. Do you really want to go to war with these guys at your back, these quitters? No, folks, I'm talking to you. Don't quit. Don't lose heart. The only reason they're doing this is because they're scared of us, our power as people. They're petrified of us rising up. They tried to nip it in the bud. And yes, low information people in the South voted for Biden. I don't care whether it was rigged or not, folks. We know for a fact. These people, unfortunately, still have memories of Obama, the first black president. And they're holding on to those memories in their mind. And they're given a free ride to Biden. The racist Biden, that is. You know, many elderly people in this country grew up in an era where they were pumped full of propaganda, pumped full of McCarthyism, pumped full of the Red Scare. It's hard to shake. They're victims of propaganda. They're victims of a mind screw, a psych war, a job of evil destruction. Yes, there are selfish people out there worried about their 401k. Yes, there are selfish people that just want things to stay as they are. They don't want it to change. Yes, there are many selfish people. And yes, they are hurting us. But they are victims. And it's up to us as activists, as movement people, to take this message of hope to them. Because let's just say these individuals that voted for Biden, when they go to the general, if we've been successful and we stayed the course and we keep fighting, we keep organizing, we don't lose hope, and we are able to make a compelling case that we are the strongest organization out there, that we are the strongest movement out there, and it goes to the point where we can put up the numbers to look them in the eye and say, if you stand in our way, you will lose, because we will not support you. We will leave you high and dry at the altar if you screw this movement. If we can make a threat and let it stick and make it count and mean it, we have a shot. No one said this was going to be easy. And if you thought it was going to be easy, you've been asleep for an awful long time. For almost 50 years now, actually, I guess it has been 50 years. For 50 years, neoliberalism has wreaked havoc on our society. It has torn down structures. It has torn down services. It has torn down our ability to envision a government that serves we the people. And for 40 of those years, Bernie Sanders has served every day, day in and day out. Even when the chips were down, he has lived to fight another day. Now, for those of you who are conservatives, who are right-wingers, who are even conservative Democrats, for those of you who are Bible believers, etc., Jesus came in on a donkey, and the people wanted Jesus to come in with a friggin' sword. Anybody remember this story? They rejected the Christ because he was on a donkey bringing peace. He wasn't in there slashing and burning and trying to kill everybody. And sometimes it's tough to watch Bernie Sanders say, I like Joe. He's wrong, but we're going to fight Joe on the issues. We're not going to get into a Trump shit-slinging contest. Sometimes you want a shit-slinging contest, don't you? It feels good in the moment. But Bernie understands that if he alienates all those voters, the truly woke don't amount to quite enough to get us to the promised land. You got to build bridges with assholes too sometimes. And unfortunately, the left is checked out. A lot of them have gone off to follow the Green Party. God love you. A lot of them have gone over here to start movement for a People's Party or some other thing. That's okay. For those of us who are in the fight for this movement, that are trying to get Bernie Sanders elected and who are trying to get a Green New Deal passed, Medicare for all, student debt elimination, free college, expanded Social Security, a Green New Deal, the whole enchilada. We are a movement too. And that means whether Bernie gets it or not, the platform moves on, it lives on. And we must continue to grow and multiply. We don't change, we don't stop. You notice how Bernie never stopped throughout the entire process? It sucked to see him grim-faced supporting Hillary. He wasn't supporting her, he was doing what he had to do. And you know what? I hated it because I didn't do that. I never kicked Bernie in the freaking head, but I didn't do it because I took him at his word. He said, hey, listen, if I tell you to do something, you're going to do what you're going to do. Don't listen to me. Do what you want to do. Because Bernie has always stood for we the people, making our own choices. For those people out there that couldn't handle that responsibility of making your own choice, that followed him or said, well, he sold out and did, that's fine. But that's not what he said. He told us all to make up our own minds, that we wouldn't listen to him. Check the tape. And right here, right now, he's fighting against everyone, every single powered interest. And even the unpowered on the left are fighting against him or leaving him high and dry. This is our moment, folks. Do not lose hope. He has not stopped fighting. And our movement continues regardless. This must continue because this is not just a political campaign. This is a restructuring of society. This is an upending of the conservative neoliberal talking points. This is changing society, and it doesn't just end with Bernie Sanders. We would have to go through every day of doing this, even with him in office. It's tough, it's heavy, it's rough work, and you know what? It's good work, and it's work we must step up to do, no matter what. No matter what. Checking out does not change anything. It doesn't even feel good. It feels like quitting. And quitting, it's just like saying, I want to be a loser. Don't quit. It's not for Bernie. It's for you. You deserve the fight. You deserve to stay in the fight. We deserve each other to stay in the fight and defend each other and to fight tooth and nail to the bitter end and educate our friends and emulate Bernie in the sense that we are trying to build relationships. We are trying to build organizational skills, and we're trying to grow our influence because it is so important. Folks, everything that Bernie stands for sounds absurd. There's no way we can do all these things because people don't understand the federal government creates money every time it spends. They're still thinking somehow or another we borrow US dollars from China. I'm not joking. This is the level of propaganda that we are up against. So naturally, being able to do bold things sounds insane. He's too far left. He's too radical. It's too crazy. It's too hard. It's too much. Well, it's only too much because they don't understand that we can come by pieces of paper without any problem at all. Even Donald Trump, in his own ignorance, said the United States can't go broke. It's got its own printing press. Now, it's not exactly the way it works, but it doesn't matter. It's close enough. We're real close to being able to crack the seal on dreaming big and doing big. Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. We need each other like you've never needed it before. Bernie could very well come out on top when those unpledged delegates are counted. I want you to hear that. And if Bernie comes out ahead at the end in a toe-to-toe fight with Joe Biden, and he comes out ahead, it's going to be awful hard to make the case that Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump, isn't it? And then, if the DNC, if those superdelegates put their thumb on the scale, they're going to find out what it's like to meet a movement that will not be denied, because we will deny them. We will stand and fight to the bitter end, and if they rig it, if they steal it, they're going to feel the pain of abandonment. But if we do what we can do, if we stop mailing it in, if the young people show up to vote, if our boomer friends continue to talk to their other friends about what it was like back in the day, that we can recapture that New Deal, that we can make it America prosperous again, and that we don't have to hurt their 401k to help everyone have health care. That it's not crazy talk, that one time, many moons ago, FDR knew that we could spend on the people. It was common knowledge in the United States that we could spend on the people. It was only in the neoliberal era that they stopped that and began financializing the economy and putting us all deep in private debt. Many of you don't even understand this. Many of you all think that the Federal Reserve's private, so you get wrapped around the axle and you don't realize that we're just talking about the U.S. government's unit of account. They're the broker for it. It doesn't make a shit's bit of difference. When Congress says spend, they spend, period. Money is spent into existence when Congress passes those laws. And Bernie's laws, the ones he's trying to do, are many, many, many trillions of dollars. And that's a scary number to people that don't understand. And because they don't understand, they put limits on what can be. And that explains the reason why Joe Biden seems like a plausible candidate. But he's not. He's everything we're against. He's against Medicare for all. He's against expanding Social Security. In fact, he wants to cut it. He wants to privatize it. Joe Biden is a true neoliberal. He wants to privatize everything. The only thing shielding him from being a Republican is the D next to his name. Bernie Sanders is here to challenge everyone, to take on the entire establishment. Don't lose heart. We're going to win. And when I say we, I mean not me, us. Our movement can't be stopped if we don't stop. It only stops if we stop. And if we don't stop, the people united can never be defeated. Real Progressives has been around since 2015. We've watched splintering of movements. We have watched people abandon groups because they lost hope or because they got angry or because of egos. We stuck it out. Folks, I want you to understand something. We have fought through this entire thing to create 2 nonprofits to serve the progressive community. We need you. We're here for you. And we want to help make this happen. We want to educate people. We want your help so we can educate communities that this stuff is possible. Because whether Bernie gets elected or not, we need the people to understand, and we need to keep our foot on the gas pedal. And we need to stop squabbling with petty egos and being sensitive about this, that, and the other, and triggered for this, that, and the other. This is too important for that kind of nonsense to get in the way. Folks, we have 2 nonprofits, a 501c3 to educate, and if we fund it, and if we volunteer in it, and we make it happen, it will do what it needs to do, and we can educate these people. If not in time for the election, in time to pass a Green New Deal, because the clock is ticking. And on the other side, the 501c4, we can begin in earnest organizing and working with other groups, fundraising and running candidates and helping endorse candidates and helping move legislation through. We have a 501c4 and a 501c3, and we desperately need your help. We need your help financially, but more importantly, we need your support. In more than just word, we need you showing up and helping us, because the reason so many people don't know is because they've got access to mainstream media. Even many of our good friends in the alternative media groups don't understand economics, and they literally can't envision the bigger picture because they lack that knowledge. We have a unique spot in this that we can help them get that knowledge so that we can force multiply the media through alternative means and start turning on our friends that are stuck in mainstream media into alternative media viewers so that we can gain access to them, so that we can provide education and news and make it so that we have the runway to make real, meaningful, sustainable change. But it requires you to roll up your sleeves and volunteer and help and meaningfully help. Because think about it, we're all in this to fight for our lives, to fight for our children's future. And there's a vehicle right here in Real Progressive's 501c3 and Real Progress in Action's 501c4 to make these kind of changes, to work with these other groups, and to organize around the economics that powers the Bernie Sanders movement. I hope you'll take me up on this. I hope you'll take me up on this. I need your help. We need your help. This organization, these organizations need your help. And Bernie needs our help. I hope you'll join with us. I hope you'll help us because we really need you. Not me, us. Bernie's going to win, folks. Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progress in Action and Real Progressives. Have a great night, everybody.